Everybody's serious but me. It occurs to me that...
I'm Iggy Pop.
My name is really extreme. When I first came out as Iggy Pop, I mean, just my name used to get people violently angry.
I would rather be a real dog.
Seit 30 Jahren ist Iggy Pop für Hunderttausende von Fans auf der ganzen Welt ein Mythos. Er ist ein Überlebender der 70er Jahre, die Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin und Jim Morrison dahingehen sahen.
Hi, I'm Iggy Pop. Welcome to my home. This is my cat.
Die Karriere des genialen Provokateurs verläuft in Schüben. Als Sänger seiner Band The Stooges gilt als Inbegriff des amerikanischen Rockpoeten. Zusammen mit David Bowie oder bei der Filmmusik zu Kusturicas Arizona Dream bewies er sein Talent als Interpret sanfterer Klänge. Er wurde im tiefsten puritanischen Amerika geboren, in Detroit, Michigan.
I grew up in a caravan, or what they call a trailer, mobile home, or whatever, in a caravan park. When I went to school and got older, I became aware that other kids lived in houses, that people use the terms trailer trash or something. There was a thing about it, and people would let me know, oh, you know, you're the kid from the trailer, and this is a very typical, normal thing in life. Just makes you want to succeed. It makes you want to basically, it gives you an attitude, a very competitive attitude toward other people, which I have. I don't like to wear it here, but I have that, you know, sort of like, okay, I want to see you under my foot. Yeah. My parents were intelligent people born into the lower middle class. My father is typical of a type of individual in the Western world who's received a good, balanced university education, which means he's been force-fed so much information in 7 years, he has a master's degree, that he never wants to read another book in his fucking life. You lose your curiosity. There was an enormous tension in the 60s because there was a war which many people my age didn't want to go fight. We were in our 20s and we were going, no, I don't want to go. I'm a fag. You know, forget it. I ain't going. I'm a pacifist. Or forget it. You know, them Viet Congs didn't do nothing to me. And then you throw the sauce on top of that of drugs. And you had a cocktail for generational hatred. And there was a real fucking frictional, heavy clash of the generations.
She got a TV on me. She got a TV on. She got a TV on me.
13. Juni 1970, das Musikfestival von Cincinnati wird von NBC live übertragen. Amerika staunt über die Metallmusik der Stooges und die neue Art, Langeweile und Frust auszudrücken. Die Schattenseiten des amerikanischen Traums. Iggy, das neue Bühnenphänomen, ist erst 23 Jahre jung. Alles begann in einem Plattenladen in Detroit. Dort arbeitete Iggy Pop, als er noch James Osterberg hieß.
Many days I would notice some strange boys standing outside on the street, you know, standing around smoking their cigarettes like this. Looking around like young idiots, young hoodlums, or with hoodlums, somewhere between hoodlums and idiots, with nothing to do. And I'd see them there all the time. It became apparent to me very quickly on these people were they were social misfits. They didn't fit anywhere in any group. And they had no future and nowhere they could go back, nothing they could go back to or fall on either. They were lost. And this interested me. From the time I proposed this to those guys until we did our first gig, it was almost 2 years. And in the 2 years, my friends all thought they felt sorry for me. They thought I had lost a promising life and I was just going crazy, trying to be something I wasn't. Finally, what I developed as a ploy was I became drug dealer to the group, and I would procure amounts of marijuana and say, if we have a rehearsal, you get this, you know. And I was pretty much the cook, the maid, the concierge. Yeah, sure. I kept the house keys, pretty much everything for that band. And as it started to develop. It was like that. What they had to give me was the joys of negative existence, which is and I had a lot of positivism and a lot of I was always a very ambitious person, and somehow the two things, I think I'd had a repressed anger for a long time that I never expressed. And these people encouraged me, come on, bring it out, bring it out, bring it out.
Since we broke away for our message, Iggy has been in the crowd and out again 3 different times. They seem to be enjoying it, and so does he.
We played the show. I took a lot of LSD, and 2 of them. 2 big orange ones, and we went out and played, and it was intense, and it felt very good. The show, it was it felt good. Things started rolling in a good way, and I felt people were with us.
We seem to have lost him, and we're trying to get a light on him now.
Till it blows away. I feel alright. I feel alright.
There they are.
One point, I just knew I guess I probably thought I was Jesus Christ or something. At one point, I just knew that if I walked out there, I was just going to walk right across that crowd, like it was water. That happened. It was a wonderful feeling. And then at some point, once I was out there, sort of in the midst of it, a hand reached up with a jar of peanut butter. I don't know why. To this day, I don't know what that had to do with it, anything. And I started throwing the peanut butter around, and people started laughing and smiling.
That's peanut butter.
The other thing I remember about that night actually was that was the first night I ever stayed in a Holiday Inn and paid for it with money from my music. And I thought, to me, this was the ne plus ultra. This was the top of the world. I was like, this is great. Look at this. I got my LSD. I've got my Holiday Inn. I have my band. I'm beautiful. I'm the best. I know I like what I do. I could live in this room forever. Which was probably a curse because that's more or less become the case, although the quality of the hotel has risen.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. Yeah. That's great.
How did this song come about?
It started as the first two chords. Like most Stooges songs, we were stoned on our smoke and jamming, and Ron came up with the two chords over and over, which is just this one. Just those two back and forth. And then I was the one who said, I had written poetry in high school and songs in my early bands. I was the one who said, let's take this and do a little more with it, make it into a song. And I used Johnny Cash's I Walk the Line as a model for this. If you could actually hear it, if you listen to I Walk the Line, you got, I keep a close walk on this. Let's see, wait a minute. Yeah, I keep a close watch on this heart of mine. Boom, boom, I keep my eyes wide open all the time. I keep the ends out for the eyes that bind. Because you're mine, I walk the line. So we used that structure in this song. Then the middle eight is a typical Stones middle eight, because I did use a lot from the Stones. I took a lot from them, yeah. And the Velvets, a lot from the Velvets.
1969, Iggy und die Stooges haben gerade ihre Heimat im Mittleren Westen verlassen und entdecken das aufregende Leben der Künstler und Intellektuellen von New York.
Stooges made our first album. It was my first trip to New York or to any big city. I was meeting a lot of people who were unlike anyone I'd ever met. A lot of people who were interested. They were artistic people or cultivated, literary in the sense, kind of like my father was, but they weren't strict like that. They were also more rockin' like me, and this interested me. It was confusing. There weren't people like that in the Midwest. They seemed to be pretty much one way or the other. There was a little arch crowd in the college, but nothing like this. A lot of these people gravitated around Andy Warhol and his art scene, and among them, I got to know Nico.
Zu den Velvet Underground gehörten damals die Sängerin Nico, Lou Reed und ein genialer Allround-Künstler John Cale. Dieser war von dem Konzert der Stooges stark beeindruckt und hatte sich in den Kopf gesetzt, der Gruppe 1969 zu ihrer ersten Platte zu verhelfen.
And John wore a big cape like Dracula, great big hooded cape, black velvet with pink velour inside, and he brought this chick Nico up with him. So the two of them would sit there like, it was kind of like the Addams Family. It just hadn't come. It was like Mr. and Mrs. Monster or something, and they would sit there, and she would sit there knitting, and going, yeah, this is good. It's better than the Velvet.
Now I wanna be your dog. Now I wanna be your dog. Now I wanna be your dog.
No song was under 8 minutes, and the company got it and went, we can't release this. There's not enough songs. They're too long. And nothing's happening. So we just lied and we said, we have more songs. Book us more time. And we wrote 3 or 4 songs real fast in the Chelsea Hotel.
Iggy, can we talk about Nico? I think you were quite close. Nico, la chanteuse Nico qui est morte cet été.
She taught me the first time I ever had a Beaujolais. That was from Nico. Before that, I just had like Ripple, you know this.
Yeah. Iggy, la première fois où il a bu du Beaujolais, c'est Nico, la chanteuse du Velvet Underground, qui l'avait branché.
And she taught me how to eat pussy. You know?
Et elle lui a également appris à lui faire des gâteries avec sa langue.
She said one day, there is something very nice you could do for me, would make me feel very good. You know?
Un jour, elle lui a dit, tu pourrais faire quelque chose pour moi qui me ferait vraiment plaisir.
So she showed me about that, which was a good thing to learn.
Et elle lui a expliqué, c'était une bonne chose à savoir.
You know, a young smart-ass rock singer trying to make an impression in New York City, hanging out with a very lost girl, a very lost and fragile personality, who was basically, I think she was probably on the rebound from, she didn't really have any relations with the Velvet Underground anymore. She wasn't a top model anymore. She was just kind of floating around. And I think there'd been an affair with this one, with that one, with whatever musicians, and I happened in there, and in my way, I loved her in my way. I had a great admiration for her, and not a long period of time that I spent together with her, maybe a month. I don't know, but it was important for me, and something about her presence that kept me constantly edgy, and I had some of my most dangerous and some pretty nasty shows, and a couple of them were stopped by the police when we were working in Michigan. She was coming with me to the shows. I don't know what that was, whether I was trying to impress her or some influence. I'm not sure.
Nach seiner Trennung von Nico werden Iggys Auftritte noch provokanter. Er verstümmelt sich selbst auf der Bühne, die Skandale häufen sich. Die Stooges, inzwischen der Horror aller Tourneeveranstalter, erhalten in den USA Konzertverbot. Aber bevor es soweit ist, komponieren sie noch ihre beiden legendären Alben Funhouse und Raw Power.
At that time, I had experienced harder drugs, and heroin and coke and all that, and those I don't know that those really any of that influences anything, but the music does have a harder edge to it, and it's no longer hypnotic music. It's more just grabs you and punches you around a little bit, but it's also really precise. It's very, very precise music, and it's really well written.
I'm a streetwalking cheetah with a hat full of napalm. I'm a runaway son of the nuclear A-bomb. world's forgotten boy, the one who searches and destroys. Somebody gotta help me, please. Somebody gotta save my soul. Baby, detonate for me. Ow!
Raw Power particularly basically puts forth the proposition that a dangerous proposition that if you want to make some powerful art, it will be necessary to abandon healthy, sensible human living with its attendant kindness and rituals. No, to make a fucking mess and fuck everything up. You know, that's what you're gonna need to do. I knew by the time we were halfway done, even before we went in to record it, I knew it was gonna finish my career commercially. I knew it was gonna wreck my career, wreck my life, that I would be ostracized, abandoned, it was gonna go nowhere. At that point, I didn't give a fuck. I'm going full ahead. We're gonna make this thing. So, and I did, and that's exactly what happened. The thing was deep sixed. It was available 6 months after its release in 1973. You could bought it for 39 cents.
Drogen, Alkohol, Gewalt. Die Band ergeht sich in allen erdenklichen Exzessen. Der Bassgitarrist Dave Alexander bezahlt es mit dem Leben und Iggy, der immer tiefer rutscht, landet in einer psychiatrischen Anstalt.
I had a few bad years, and I'd had a tie-up. I had an unfortunate tie-up with the manager that I'd had at the time, and really also I felt that I'd hit pretty much, you know, aside from, okay, yeah, I had no money, my health was shaky, I had the drug habits, a very bad reputation in LA, which is a bad place to have a bad reputation because they're all very, you know, worried about what other people think of them. But to top it all off, I knew inside, which is much more important, I knew pretty much I'd shot my shot as far as hard rock had gone. There really wasn't anything more for me to do.
Well, I'm up on the 11th floor and I'm watching the cruisers below.
David Bowie hatte für Raw Power die Tonmischung gemacht. Er erfährt von Iggys Verfall und beschließt, ihm zu helfen. Er war ihm ohnehin noch etwas schuldig, seit er sich bei Iggy für seine Figur des Ziggy Stardust inspiriert hatte.
Now Ziggy played.
To me, they represented the wild side of existentialist America. And of course, being a sort of a real nutcase about America and American music, that was everything that I thought we should have in England. I didn't know if we had it in England or not. So at that time, one was borrowing heavily from the American influence.
They stuck with me when I was screwing up, when I was a jerk, you know, when I couldn't put out consistent product, when I couldn't talk 3 words in a row without falling down. When I wasn't doing good shows, they stuck with me, and some personal friends did too, especially David Bowie, and my mother and father. Yeah, things like that, you know. The only reason I'm doing this is to get my face on more screens, to get my name in more papers and more print, and to expand my fame.
Iggy und David Bowie werden unzertrennlich. David lässt sich auf seinen Tourneen von Iggy begleiten. Und so bringt David Bowie einen Musiker auf die Bühne zurück, von dem die Plattenfirmen eigentlich nichts mehr hören wollten. In Frankreich und in Berlin findet Iggy zur Inspiration des Rockpoeten zurück, während Bowie mit neuen musikalischen Formen experimentiert. Aus dieser Zusammenarbeit entstehen Titel wie Lust for Life und China Girl.
That's where David Bowie came in, and the next 2 albums I made, and really, it was key for me, you know, to have somebody in a I'd always collaborated up till that point, pretty much. I wrote some things myself, but I needed a good collaborator and somebody who was willing to experiment, and I think that worked out very well for me. And then The Idiot was totally different, you know. It was a very, sounded like somebody on manic depressive drugs or something, but it was the right move for me to make, and I understood that. A lot of the songs on The Idiot and the lyrics, Fun Time particularly, and the song Nightclubbing, really describe the things I would do together at night with David Bowie, because we were hanging out, so we'd go out a lot, you know, and hey man, come on, let's go to this club and do this and do that and do the silly things that people do in the night, you know, all the things people do, posing, pretending, imagining, and getting wrecked, you know, socializing, and so that's what that's about. In Fun Time, it's actually written as a plural, where I say, "Hey, baby, we like your lips," you know, which is kind of more scary that way.
Nightclubbing, we're nightclubbing, we're what's happening. Nightclubbing, we're nightclubbing, we're an ice machine.
I was very alienated from people, and I think personally, I think I'm still that way on and off. I've learned I can come and go, but I'm still kind of a fringe figure. I'm not the life of the party. I'm not the person you're going to find in the middle of the social event. I'll be more on the edge, or maybe not there, you know. And then sometimes I can switch it, and I go and I really enjoy people, but yeah, I have trouble connecting.
C'est la première fois qu'on le voit à la télévision. On le verra demain pour un concert exceptionnel au pavillon de Paris. Vous le voyez ici dans un extrait d'un spectacle qu'il donnait il y a de cela quelque temps à Amsterdam. Et je voudrais tout de suite qu'il rentre sur ce plateau. Le voici. Et c'est Iggy Pop. Oui, bonjour. Ah, là je crois que... Vous savez que c'est interdit d'allumer quelque chose sur le plateau.
Bonjour Yves.
Ça va?
Ça va bien, ja.
Oui. Ja. Vous venez d'où là? Vous venez d'Amsterdam? Nous avons vu un extrait du show à Amsterdam.
Ich nicht verstehe, nicht so gut.
Hm?
Kannst du sprechen langsam, eh?
Yeah. What do you think the more important in your life? Qu'est-ce que vous pensez?